12 o'clock's on a Monday. We head out on the D4 Land Services hotline, and we need to hang out. A good friend of mine, he might not say it in public, but I'm sure he believes it. A good friend of mine, Mitch Light of The Athletic, joins us on the D4 Land Services hotline. Mitch, have you recovered from the heart attack Commodores, who, playing the rivalry series, the hated Volunteers of Tennessee, they proceed to walk it off, walk it off, walk it off? Has that ever happened before in Vanderbilt baseball history, that they win a conference series with 3 walk-off wins?
I don't know. I don't think so. The question was asked to me today. I guess it would take a decent amount of research. Vanderbilt did not say it was the case. I guess maybe they're researching it today. I can't imagine it's happened a lot in the history of SEC baseball. That's just pretty rare.
It's nuts, man. Come on. That's absolutely insane.
Yeah, so I was out of town this weekend. I was at Wake Forest visiting my son, and we were at the Wake Forest-Cal baseball game, bitter ACC rivals, Wake Forest and Cal Bears, kind of following the
that long history
Saturday.
And tradition of college baseball together.
You could see the hatred on the field between the two teams. It was wild. Fights in the stands. It was crazy. So, following the game Saturday, deep into extra innings, and then we went going out to eat with a bunch of people, and as we were waiting for our table, the Vanderbilt scored the winning run there. So, and then I listened to most of the game yesterday while driving home from Winston-Salem. So, yeah, just the nature of it, like to win on a suicide squeeze in the bottom of the 16th one day, and then score 6 runs, including a grand slam down 3 in the next game to win 16-15. Very college baseball, just it's almost like a different sport between the games being played Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Friday walk-off, it was a 2-out RBI single in the 10th. On Saturday, it was a suicide squeeze in the bottom of the 16th. And then in 16-15, Vanderbilt win with a grand slam on Sunday. Each game in itself would have been pretty epic on any weekend, but all 3 in a row. And for Vanderbilt, you and I talked, I think it was all of last Monday, about what was wrong with Vanderbilt. And you were talking about their bullpen. Is this the jump start? Is this the big mo? Have they turned it around?
You saw the good and the bad. Like Saturday, I think all but 1 inning of the 16 innings was by a freshman. So they've turned to some freshmen who are getting the job done. But then when you have 5 guys out already for injury, and you've played 10 innings one game, 16 innings the next game, your bullpen's stretched pretty thin. So it was no surprise on Saturday that Vanderbilt gave up that many runs. So I know they're coming to Texas A&M this weekend, and I would say the pitching issues have not necessarily been fixed. Although they had some freshmen step up and pitch well at home. It's different, as you know. They had a pitcher, Tyler Baird, a freshman at Mississippi State. He started a week ago Sunday, did not retire a batter. Then he comes back the next week at home and pitches 3 shutout innings against Tennessee. So he's got a good arm, and my guess is he's going to start, game 3 this week, which should be a Saturday. And so we'll see how he performs again on the road in front of a big crowd. So pitching will continue to be an issue with this Vanderbilt team all year just because of a number standpoint.
We're definitely going to come back to Vanderbilt because Vanderbilt and A&M happen to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday at Bluebell Olson. But walk-offs weren't the theme, but sweeps were a theme. You and your crack baseball athletic research department, I don't know if you know this one, but have we ever had 7 of 8 series in the SEC end in sweeps on a weekend before?
I don't know. Again, a good question. That's something that the SEC, they might have tweeted out if it had happened. My guess is yes. I mean, it seems pretty wild. Well, first of all, okay, I'm going to backtrack. My guess is no, because this is only the second year of 8 weekend series because 16 teams. So my guess is all but one has happened in the past, whether it was a 10-team league, a 12-team league, all that stuff. Because they're rare, but they're not that rare. It was just what made it even more interesting was Florida sweeping Arkansas. Arkansas hadn't been swept since 2016 at home, and they hadn't lost a weekend series since May of 2022. So Florida had, they're 6-3. They sweep South Carolina, they get swept at Alabama, and they go on the road and they sweep Arkansas. Mississippi State sweeping Ole Miss, I guess that's a surprise on the road, but Mississippi State is really, really good. So those were, I guess, the two ones that surprised. Oklahoma's good, as you know, but getting swept at Texas, that happened. So just a wild week. Like LSU and Kentucky was the only series that was not a sweep.
Yeah, the Florida one is the stunner. Easily the most stunning. I think, what was the stat on that one? Razorbacks, they hadn't lost a series at home since May of 2022. They had not been swept at home since 2016. So anytime they lose is almost shocking, but to be swept is kind of historical.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that tells you, I don't care how good your program is, to not get swept at home in 10 years is super impressive. And that's why, I think they might have had one down year in that span. I think maybe 2018, they went like 8-22, shockingly. But they have been among the most consistent programs in the country in the past 10 years. And, one of the reasons is a great home field, and they rarely lose at home.
Now, Alabama-Auburn's a rivalry thing. I guess anything can happen, but Alabama unranked, right? Auburn was top 5?
Yeah, they were. And, Alabama had swept Florida the week before. Again, they're one of the three, I guess, with Florida might be the other one, 3 teams that have been involved in 3 sweeps. They go to Kentucky, they get swept, they come home, and they sweep Florida, and then they sweep Auburn. And, Auburn had lost 2 of 3 to Texas the week before, and I think their other series win was Missouri. That factored into my rankings this week, and I think that factors into how we judge teams this early. I know Missouri's better than they were last year, but South Carolina's not very good. So when you see a team that's 6-3, have they played South Carolina or Auburn yet, or Missouri yet? That's got to factor in the way you evaluate these teams. But Auburn, I think, is still very good, but they have lost the two series that did not come against Missouri.
It is rare to see sweeps in the SEC. Everybody is too good. Why do you think we had 7? A convergence of forces, atmospheric conditions. How do you end up with 7? It's rare to have any.
Yeah, I don't know. That's why we're talking about it. I don't think there's any. I think there's even more balance in the SEC this year than most years. So, it appears that Texas is the best team. I'd put Georgia in that group right there. And then, like I said, South Carolina and Missouri are probably at the bottom. And I think there's so much parity among the other teams, which makes it even more surprising. So, I don't have an answer, and I would love to get other opinions. I follow the league pretty closely. There's a lot of people that do, and if there's any theories behind it, because I'm at a loss.
So, question for you. We're 3 series in, so there's a lot of play left, but 3 out of 10 is 30%. That's a good chunk.
Yeah, it is. And like that, you got to really look at schedules. And I'm getting ahead of myself because you might ask about the rankings, but I was looking at the UCF, for example, is 8-1 in the Big 12. They didn't really play anyone, and they played South Florida non-conference, who's decent. They lost 2 of 3. So I kept a 5-4 Arizona State team that's played West Virginia, that's played TCU, in over an 8-1 team because the schedule's been more difficult. So I guess my point is that just 3 series in is a decent part of the league, 30%, like you said, but a lot of it's so schedule dependent. Like, who have you played, and have you already played 2 home series and all that? So we definitely evaluate who's good, who's not good, but I think we need to get at least halfway done before we can really start figuring things out.
Are you ready to make any conclusions about the SEC, any factual statements?
I think Texas is the best team. I think Georgia is the second best team. It's easy to say because they're tied for first right now, but Georgia's offense, their home run production has been very good. Their starting pitching has been pretty good. I think the league is very deep. Maybe the middle to bottom third isn't quite as strong as it's been in years past. But I think, we can probably eliminate Missouri and South Carolina from NCAA tournament contention. And I think everyone else is, clearly still in the mix.
It's hilarious. Okay, I was having a conversation this morning with Dusty. I'm not sure if you remember him. You've met him before, but yeah, and that's exactly what I said. What's different about the SEC this year is I think the top end is actually deeper, but the middle is actually weaker.
Yeah, I mean, it's and this is Mark Etheridge had this point, and I don't want to overstate the importance of midweek games because there's just so many factors involved. The SEC is like 6-12 away from home in midweek games. So we're at this point now where obviously everyone's just playing within their own conference, so you can't really evaluate against other leagues too much. There are some midweek games that Georgia Tech will play in Auburn like that, but like LSU is 4-5, and I told you I saw them in person. Not a very scary offensive lineup. Arkansas clearly not as good as they've been in recent years. Is Auburn better? We thought they were, but again, they've lost the 2 series, not against Missouri. So I would agree with that. I think the middle, like I said before, the middle to the bottom probably isn't as strong as it's been.
Fair enough. Now, the rest of college baseball, taking a look at The Athletic, Mitch, who is their editor for The Athletic, he runs the whole thing. Matter of fact, he might own it in secret, but I know he's an editor for The Athletic.
Yes, I own the New York Times. Yes.
Yeah, pretty good work. I know you did well at The Athletic. I didn't realize that well. He does their college baseball roundup and their college baseball top 25. Boston College, you say this week we got to take them for real.
I don't know if I've been more surprised by a score in any sport this year than checking my phone Saturday late afternoon and seeing Boston College 17, Virginia nothing as final score. Like, I knew Boston College was pretty good. They were 6-3 entering the weekend, but Virginia has one of the best offenses in the ACC. They've been really, really good. They've been in the top 10 all year. And I knew Boston College won the Friday night game, but 17-0 was just startling. So they are 8-4 in the ACC. They lead the league in ERA by a considerable amount in league games, which is, you just would never think that from Boston College. They're 3.28 ERA in league play, which is fantastic. So, I think they've had a sneaky good program. Boston College in regionals is not like that shocking. It's just they have trouble sustaining success year over year. But this appears to be one of their better teams in the last 5-6 years. So I'm not saying they're going to win the league, but they're clearly going to be a factor, and I would be surprised at this point if they're not in the NCAA tournament.
The first firing, maybe. Grand Canyon.
Outside of Paul Maneri.
I didn't. He retired. He didn't get fired.
No, he got fired. But
whoa! I can look up the paperwork. He retired. Remember?
Yeah. After he decided to retire after losing 24-3 one day. So,
he did say I'm too old for this.
Yeah. Well, he was too old because he gave up 24 runs. But
fair enough.
Grand Canyon fired Greg Wallace on Friday, which was, a little bit of a surprise. He had been 28. He had been 58 and 25 in the WAC. They'd made the tournament one time in his 3 years, but that's a program that I guess has a high opinion of itself. They made, Andy Stankiewicz, former major leaguer who's now at USC, they made this tournament in his last 2 years there, and they got off to a slow start. You never know with situations like this what's going on behind the scenes. I'm not saying there is anything, but it just seems quick for a coach who's had a good record and been a good program to pull the plug that quickly. But, I guess in this day and age, if you're pouring resources into a program as an athletic department, you need to see success, and they clearly didn't think they were on the right path.
And one more from the roundup. You mentioned Nebraska last week, but they continue to roll on. But as you mentioned in your roundup, they still haven't been challenged necessarily in Big Ten play.
Yeah, that's what you got to take sometimes these gaudy early conference records, like I mentioned with UCF being 8-1 in the Big 12, and Nebraska's 8-1. In the Big Ten, they played Michigan State, Michigan, and Indiana. Those teams are combined 10-23 in the league. But, like I said, you credit them for winning those games. We're going to find out about this team over the next few weeks. They play at Oregon, who's 7-2 in the Big Ten. They play USC at home after that, but they don't play UCLA, the best team in the league there. So Nebraska, another program we talked about last week with a rich baseball tradition. They were in the tournament last year, and they, are they in position to challenge the Big Ten? I don't think so, but they could be in a hosting position possibly.
Mitch, let's grab a quick timeout, come back, take a look at your top 25, and there's some other things I want to hit you up about.
Sounds good.
Mitch Light of The Athletic. hangs out with us on the D4 Land Services hotline. It's a Monday thing here on the Louis Bellina Show. If you ever need, your land cleared, your land excavated, your land fixed up, I think you need to look at d4landservices.com. d4landservices.com. We'll be right back. It's the Louis Bellina Show, Monday on The Zone.
Spend your late nights with Sports Center all night from ESPN Radio here on The Zone.
The Louis Bellina Show, presented by CC Electric, Monday edition. We hang out with Mitch Light of The Athletic, college baseball roundup, and more. Mitch hangs out with us on the D4 Land Services hotline. Mitch, let's jump into the top 25 poll, The Athletic College Baseball Edition. We always start with the teams that just entered the poll, that NR. They weren't rated the week before. Florida started the year as a top 10 team, if I'm not mistaken. Had a tough non-con, but the sweep, Arkansas, their house, they come back into the poll at number 16 for The Athletic.
Yeah, Florida's had the biggest swings. They were in the poll in the teens 2 weeks ago, and then they got swept at Alabama, and I dropped them completely out. They had also lost a midweek game, I believe, that week. And then when they go to Arkansas and they sweep Arkansas, of course, they got to be ranked again. They're 23-6. They beat Florida State in a midweek game, so it wasn't just winning at Arkansas. So then what do you do with Arkansas, who had been number 5? You know, I realize there's both teams have played 28, 29 games at this point, so it's a complete season. It's not just one series. But when one team goes and sweeps the other team on its home field, when all things being equal, they got to be ahead of them. So Arkansas drops from number 5 down to number 17, conveniently one spot behind Florida. So that was, I would say that wasn't a difficult decision, but that's, at this stage of the season, it's always tough to drop a team 12 spots. But I thought that was the right thing to do.
And another team entering, and we mentioned them earlier, you sang their praises, BC, Boston College enters at number 24.
Yep, 8-4 in the league, 4-1 last week. I think Virginia's really good team, really good offense. Like I said, you beat Virginia 2 out of 3. They were I think they were in a couple other top 45 last week, but they were kind of, on my others receiving votes in my one-man poll. They were just on the outside. But so you take 2 of 3 from Virginia, you're going to get in the poll there. So that was So 2 new teams, almost had a third. I had UCF in, like I said earlier, but then I changed my mind. I kept Arizona State. Arizona State lost 2 of 3 at home to West Virginia, but I just thought schedule strength, some non-conference schedule strength as well. Decided to keep Arizona State in.
Looking at the top end of the poll, UCLA just continues to truck everyone. UCLA 4-0, 25-2 on the year. They're the number 1 team.
Yes, and they played a decent non-conference schedule, not an elite non-conference schedule. But the problem with the Big Ten, there's good teams. UCLA's good, Oregon's good. I mentioned Nebraska, USC's good. You're just not challenged week in and week out. You're not put in those stressful situations every week. I'm looking at, they played Ohio State, who's 13-13. They played Michigan, who's 14-13. They played Maryland, who's 12-15, and they played Iowa, who's 12-11. Now they play USC this week, but then they play Rutgers. So it's just, they're kind of like, I'm not going to compare them exactly like Gonzaga in men's basketball, but it's hard to, they're great. They deserve to be number 1. I'm just saying they're just not tested throughout their conference season like a lot of teams.
Once every 3 weekends is not enough.
Right. But then on the other hand, it puts pressure on you to win more of your games, because if you have you're comparing, let's say they went 22-8 in their league, and you're comparing that against a 20-10 SEC team. I take the 20-10 SEC team as far as resumes when you're looking at overall national seeds. It's hard to win every baseball game, but when you're a team at the top of the rankings and you're playing a softer conference schedule, it puts pressure on you to win all those games. So it's a different kind of pressure.
Big Ten baseball's kind of funny. Any team that's not really from the Big Ten is good, and every team that is from the Big Ten is bad.
Yes, pretty much. Nebraska's not really, they're not an old school Big Ten team. They've been in the Big Ten for a while. But they are, it's a slight tangent. When I do that coaches forum every year and I ask about teams and surprise teams, 2 years in a row, coaches keep mentioning the Penn State as a surprise team. that's a program that's put a lot of resources into baseball in recent years. Surprisingly, they hired away Boston College's coach, a Boston College alum. And I'm not saying they won't get good in the next few years, but it kind of just shows you commitment is one thing. You have to have that. You have to have the resources, but you also got to get the players. And it's just difficult to get players at some of these Big Ten schools. You can put the money in, but it's just, it's difficult to convince a kid to play baseball in State College, Pennsylvania, as opposed to somewhere, south of the Mason-Dixon line or UCLA or USC or something like that.
Penn State will have to learn what they learned in Lubbock. Their coaches last year were all talking about the Lubbock tax on NIL, that they have to pay kids to go to Lubbock. Well, if Penn State wants to pay their baseball players, they're going to have to pay a state college tax. That's just the reality of it.
And they've, I follow the portal. They've had some good gets in the portal the last few years. It's a volume game. Baseball's, it's not like basketball. You can't have three good players in baseball. You've got to have a host of good players. And I'm intrigued by that program because the coaches keep, mentioning that one like unprovoked as a program to watch over the next few years.
Looking at your poll, it's kind of entertaining for me that Alabama's 12 and Auburn's 13, and they're both like two of the biggest swings of the week. Where Alabama, they moved up 11 spots, and Auburn dropped down 10, and that was one of the sweeps.
Yeah, it was sort of like the Florida-Arkansas thing. I moved one team way up, one team way down for the team that won one spot ahead. Auburn's was a little more cumulative. Like I had, I kept them pretty high because they beat Georgia Tech in a midweek game, even though they lost 2 of 3 at home to Texas. I think I actually moved them up a spot just because of things that were happening there. So again, they've lost 2 straight series to good teams. Alabama's not great, but to lose to Texas at home's no shame there. So again, that was more of a cumulative thing after 2 weeks from them being, I think just 5-4 in the league.
So Mitch, A&M has one of the greatest sweeps of the weekend, and you only move them up 1 spot to 19? What's up with that?
Yeah, I had him at 3 for a while when I was doing my poll, but then I kind of looked at some other numbers, and I moved him down to 19. So,
wild swing, wild swing.
You know the term poll mechanics. Just a lot of things happened around him. I just couldn't get him up to number 3 like I'd originally planned. So, no, sweeping Missouri, that was who they played, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's one of those, again, Missouri's better this year. They're more competitive. And we all know what happened last year against Missouri. It's one of those things where you just got to take care of business, and they did. The offense was really good, and the type of thing where they weren't going to move up much by winning, and they're in danger of moving down if they lost a couple of those games. So they're kind of holding steady right there. I think they've probably been between 19 and 23 the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, pretty consistent. Help us understand Vanderbilt baseball. I mean, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Bluebell Olson, Aggies host the Commodores. What does every Aggie need to know about Vanderbilt baseball?
Unlike recent years, they've been hitting a lot of home runs. That was the problem offensively for Vanderbilt. Even though they had good teams, they were a national seed 2 of the last 3 years. Even though they didn't get out of the regional, they didn't hit a lot of home runs. They pitched, they played defense, they ran the bases. Changed pitching. I don't know if this is why I've changed hitting coaches. Jason Esposito, a former Vanderbilt third baseman who'd been the assistant hitting coach for the Guardians, They bring him in, and they're second in the nation in home runs, which is great for the offense. But this year they can't pitch, due in large part to the injuries. They've had, one best starter, Austin Nye's out for the year, and then like 4 or 5 key bullpen arms have been hurt. So not much pitching depth. So one key is Connor Fennell, the Friday night starter, who was great last year, struggled a little bit his first couple SEC starts, got hit around, which he didn't much last year. He was really good against Tennessee on Friday. That is going to be a key for Vanderbilt on Thursday. I assume he'll pitch Thursday. Although they could opt to keep him on Friday and, keep the Friday, Saturday the same and come back with a different starter on Thursday. But my point being, he needs to give them some innings and some pitches because, again, with a short bullpen, you need your starters to go a little deeper. So, and I mentioned, go back to the hitting. I mentioned it. Their average hasn't been great in the SEC. Now, they face some good pitching. So far, the strength of Tennessee is its starting pitching. They played at Mississippi State, great starting pitching, and opened with LSU, who's got some good starting pitching. So I'm not going to sit here and say the offense is, quote-unquote, struggling in the SEC, but the numbers are down, which you typically see. So I guess the long-winded answer, good offensive team, very good length in the lineup. But if you get to the bullpen, A&M should be able to win 2 out of 3. Would be my early week prediction on the series.
So you have A&M taking the series?
Yeah, I would think so. Again, Vanderbilt's going to throw out a lot of freshman pitchers, and it's okay to pitch as a freshman in your confines of your home park. But and maybe they grew up 2 weeks ago in Mississippi State, pitching a lot of high leverage pitches in extra innings against Tennessee. But there's going to be some guys pitching in an environment where they're not used to throwing. So that's going to be definitely something to watch.
3 players that we have to know. 3 players we have to watch.
Brody Johnston, who is a sophomore third baseman, just got moved to second base. They're kind of moving things around in the infield. He's the leading hitter on the team. He hit 15 home runs last year as a freshman. He's got 9 this year. Braden Holcomb, who was just moved from center field to third base, leads the team in home runs. He looks like a tight end. He could play tight end for the Aggies or anybody in the SEC probably. Very good, very big power hitter. And then I'll say Connor Fennell, the Friday night starter. I wrote a feature on him in the preseason. Does not throw hard, barely touches 90, but he led the nation last year in strikeout percentage. He's got a funky delivery. He works very quickly. He annoys hitters because he works very quickly. In fact, they changed some of the pitch clock rules because he worked so quickly last year. But he's a fun guy to watch. If he's on your team, you like him. If you don't, he's fiery. He's not afraid to bark at the other team. So he's put it this way, the folks in Knoxville don't like him very much.
Oh, fair enough. Does the Vandy Whistler travel?
He does not.
Oh, thank you. Do people at Vanderbilt like the Vandy Whistler?
That's a very complicated question. I would say it's split 50-50. I think a lot of people staunchly defend him, and a lot of people just say he's annoying. My honest truth is, when I'm at the games, it doesn't bother me at all. Like, it's just background noise just because there's noise all around. When I'm watching on TV, it annoys me. So that is my. And I was like I said, I was driving yesterday while watching the game. I wasn't watching the game. That would not be good driving. While I was listening to the game while driving. It's
okay. You already leaked it.
Okay, and he was kind of annoying through the radio. So that's my stance is I'm probably in the middle ground when I said 50-50. It depends on where I am and I guess what my mood is.
All right, Mitch, before I let you go, and I know we're out of time, but NCAA tournament, have you seen anything as horrific, painful, gut-wrenchingly awesome as Caden Boozer?
That was tough. I mean, that was one of those moments where I think most people will remember where they were watching that. When you're our age, Louis, you've seen great NCAA tournament moments over the years, but that's on the short list of just wow moments. The turnover, the shot, everything about it, the lack of execution. It was just like, I didn't really care. I mean, I probably wanted UConn to win, but I'm just glad I saw it live. It was one of those moments where you're just like, wow, that was fun to watch.
All he had to do was stand still. He didn't have to move.
Yeah. Yep. And I mean, you know what? Obviously, he thought he could get in and get a dunk and they win the game by 6, whatever, but he was getting double teamed.
You think he had money on the game?
Get fouled. Huh?
You think he had money on the game?
No, I don't think he had money on the game. His brother's going to be really, really rich soon. All he needed to do was secure the ball tightly, pivot away, and either pass it back to someone or get fouled. But tough moment for the young man. Yeah,
all you had to do is stand still. That's the funny part. If he just stood there, because there's no 5-second violation, there's 10 seconds left, 10 seconds on the clock. Like, just stand still.
Yep, or throw the ball up as high as he could. It probably would take about 5 seconds.
Unbelievable. It's like, I don't know. And, everyone goes after the coach. Let me ask you, do you blame the coach whatsoever on that play?
I think I know where you're going. It's like they practice that stuff so much. These kids have been playing basketball forever. You got to know what to do. So
no, I don't blame the coach. If you're wondering where I was going, I put zero blame on the coach.
Yeah, I'm a coach defender, not as in like, oh, I think that guy's doing a great job, don't fire him. I'm a coach defender in the, like, weird things happen in sports, and you just can't blame everything on a coach. Like, and that's the case there, where like those kids, they've been schooled, they know they're told what to do in those situations, time, clock, situation, all that stuff. So there could have been some things leading up to that where Shire wasn't at his best, but because that play, again, those kids should know what to do.
First team to lead by 15 plus at the half in the Elite Eight to ever 134-0 is now 134-1.
First number one.
Number one. Thank you.
Yeah, first number one. Yeah,
first number. I'm still like stunned, man. It's Monday, and I'm still not quite coming to grips with it. And it happened to Duke. That's very heartbreaking. Mitch,
I know.
Be awesome, brother. I'll check in with you next Monday. Holy cow, it was an incredible sports weekend with everything that happened.
It was. Enjoyed it. Take care, bud.
Yeah, be great. Mitch Light of The Athletic on the D4 Land Services hotline. If you ever need forestry, mulching, pond construction, a metal building, check out d4landservices.com. If you need a metal building, they do custom metal buildings from the ground up. Check them out at d4landservices.com. I'll be back. It's, 3 minutes and 48 seconds. It's the Louis Bellina Show, Monday on The Zone.
For the complete contest and prize rules for 1150 AM and 93.7 FM, visit zone1150.com.
No. Come get it.
Hi, hello, welcome. Halftime we have reached. Going to hang out till 2 o'clock. The Louis Bellina Show. Don't forget, you can text 979-693-1150. 979-693-1150. Light up the Texas Mobile and Lube Express inbox. Texas Mobile and Lube Express, where they say be good to your car. Guess what? Your car will be good to you. How does one be good to their car? You take it to Texas Mobile and Lube Express. Got this email from the SEC office. That's right. No, it's from Texas A&M. Oh, based upon the SEC office. But yeah, it's official, what we already knew. But Texas A&M first baseman Gavin Grohovic is the SEC Player of the Week. Duh. And then A&M player Jorian Wilson was selected as the SEC Freshman of the Week. Grohovic had 4 home runs in the series against Missouri, 12 RBI, 7 runs, 2 stolen bases. Yeah, if he wasn't SEC Player of the Week, we were going to burn down the award. We were going to, storm the Citadel. Not the university or anything, but still. So Gavin Grohovic is your SEC Player of the Week. Jorian Wilson is the SEC Freshman of the Week, and as it should be. Aggie baseball back in action tomorrow. Bluebell Olson, Sam, Houston State, 6 o'clock. That's 5:45 pregame. 6:02 will be like the first pitch. You'll hear that game here on The Zone. 11:50 a.m. and 93.7 FM on The Zone app at radioagland.com. And you can tell Alexa, play Zone 1150. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Vandy. 2 teams rolling. 2 teams that swept this past weekend. You'll hear all the games on The Zone. I do have some text messages I wanted to hit up. It kind of makes me chuckle. We've been talking about everything and anything, obviously, but at the end of hour 1, talked about Troubadour, Gen X music, the concert culture, and the power of what we had. Zachary in College Station, I think Creed tips it for the millennials. Something tells me that's high sarcasm. I have another text message that says that the Troubadour Festival was incredible. Now, Rusty Burson, I don't know if someone hacked his phone. Rusty will be with me Thursday. As you know, Thursdays at 1, he joins me on the D4 Land Services hotline. And Rusty Burson is an Aggie historian and author. And we talk every Thursday. This can't be real. This cannot be a real text message from him. According to Rusty Burson, the very first concert he ever went to was Elvis Presley. The second concert he ever went to was Captain and Tennille, Love Will Keep Us Together Forever. And the third was Sonny and Cher. Now, I don't know how you might feel about the various artists, but you have to give credit to where those various artists kind of rank. Every one of them is iconic. I mean, Elvis Presley, love him or not, maybe you didn't listen, but he is the king. His influence, his role in music history. Captain and Tennille, iconic, and Sonny and Cher, iconic is a word that might be too small. Now, Rusty did go on to say, all before I could drive. Once I could drive, I was a hairband rocker at every Texas Jam at the Cotton Bowl, which I knew that. I knew that Rusty had went to all the Texas Jams. And Texas Jam used to be the envy of the rock and roll world. People from around the world wanted to go to Texas Jam. Elvis Presley, Captain Tennille, Sonny, and Cher. Everybody remind me to ask Rusty about this Thursday because this can't be real. I think my first concert ever was a New Edition down at, Astroworld had the Southern Star Amphitheater. And then like Howard Jones and Paul Young. And then someone finally introduced me to Led Zeppelin. So I think my first concert ever was New Edition. 979-693-1150. I just love music, all music, and always went to music. Let us leave the world of concerts and enter Aggie football. The latest ESPN mocking of a draft, Miller and Reed are the two that do it. He did something fascinating. He did a 7 round mock draft. And I've been dying to see some that I felt like I could trust, that would have some level of accuracy is a tough word, but some value. There's a lot of garbage ones, and I don't want to waste my time or your time with. But with Miller, I'm pretty good with it. I was looking forward to seeing him or Reed or Yates, any of them do them. And before we jump into the 7, because why the 7? Because there's so many Aggies predicted to be picked that might not be 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. They asked all their various experts, Miller, Reed, Yates, who is your favorite day 3 sleeper right now? Who's your favorite day 3 sleeper? According to Miller, who did the 7-round mock draft, will lead third cornerback Texas A&M. Why? Because this is a potential NFL starter that you're going to get on day 3. That's why. So, and they each only got to pick one. So in all of day 3, according to Miller, will lead the third cornerback Texas A&M is his favorite day 3 sleeper. But 7-round mock draft, ESPN, one of the good ones. Not, well, I'll just say for entertainment purposes only. In the first round, and this is a name I hadn't seen him associated with, but at number 22, the Los Angeles Chargers would take Cassius Howell. Why? They lost their speed rusher in free agency, so they have an opening. And that will be dependent, obviously, on the number of edge rushers that go before. If that would track for Cassius Howell, number 22, to the Los Angeles Chargers. Howell will be the only Aggie selected in the first round, according to Miller's ESPN mock. Now, we get to the second round. At number 35, the Tennessee Titans select Chase Besantes. Texas A&M immediately starts with the Titans. At number 37, the New York Giants select from Texas A&M wide receiver Casey Concepcion. We now go to the third round. The Pittsburgh Pirates select in the third round defensive tackle Tyler Onyedum, and Tony Catalina, Austin American Statesman, spoke quite a bit about him last week. Stock up high. In the third round, the Philadelphia Eagles select offensive tackle Demetrius Crownover. And if you're doing math, which I hope you are because I'm not, because I'm bad at math, that would be 5 Aggies selected in the first 3 rounds. 5 Aggies selected in the first 3 rounds. And there could be more. 7-round mock draft, we go to round 4. Albert Regis, 4th round. Le'Veon Moss, 4th round. Atlanta, Will Lee, the 3rd. I'm not putting the team necessarily. The round is the most important thing to me. And Will Lee, 4th round. So, 3 Aggies, 4th round. We're at 8 total. In the 5th round, Nate Borkacher, Scooby Williams. We're at 10 Aggies total. Finally, in the 7th round, Armaj Reed Adams and once look. Once you get to 6-7, anything can go. But according to 7-round mock draft, Field Yates, ESPN, he has 11 Aggies being selected total. That's the big thing I took away. 5 in the first 3. And if you go in the first 3 rounds, you should be a starter. Day 1 NFL. And at some positions, if you're on the 2 deep, you're a starter. Same concept. So 5 in the first 3. So you're starting opening day. 11 Aggies in total. And a lot of traffic in that 4th round. So that was the insights. That's what caught my attention. That's what I wanted to share with you. And that's what I've been dying to see for myself. Now, you could have 2 in the first round. Here is the utmost optimistic maroon and white. I had a bucket of Kool-Aid. That was maroon and Kool-Aid. You could have 3 first rounders. How we know Concepcion and Basantes. That would be the optimistic maroon Kool-Aid version. 3 first rounders is possible. And you could have 1 first and 3 seconds. But 5 in the first 3 rounds looks like the correct number in some order. We'll take a timeout. We'll make our way back and we'll say bye-bye to the lunch hour of the Louis Bellina Show. And lunchtime is thanks to Rudy's Barbecue, the home of the green chili stew.
We are going. Are you ready? The Zone 1150 AM and 93.7 FM. When we get tired, we play harder.
Okay, it's time.
Oh, here we go!
Let's go!